graphic. Because the VTuber model, like, itself, like, all the drawing is done, I just need to rig it up. And for that, I need money for a rigging thing, which currently do not have a rigging program, which I currently do not have. Because I actually hope, like, once I figure out how to rig and stuff, to offer VTuber model commissions. They'd be, like, way more expensive than my average commission, though, just because of how much more work they take. But I feel like that was going to be, like, very obvious. I'll probably finish up Hanako and I, like, get them all, line arted, flat colored, and shaded. And then we'll end the stream because I'm starting to get tired. I need to grab another soda. I finished off the cream soda, and it went right through me, which is why I had to pee. Yeah. Actually, need help with writing the Grand Killing Game AU, because, I know kind of what's your favorite Pringles flavor? Pizza. Pizza and original. I love pizza and original. I also like the barbecue and sour cream, but if I only had to pick two, pizza and original, they're my go-tos. Yeah. Uh, yeah, the reason I haven't made much more, I prefer salt and vinegar, sour cream sour cream and onion, that's one of the ones I like. Uh, the reason I haven't made much stride in the, Grand Killing Game is I don't know who should die first. Calling me. It was an out-of-state call, so they can try to call back later or tomorrow. Spin a wheel to decide? No, because what if it's somebody I like and wanted to do something with their character? There's so many characters I wanna do things with, but, like, the cast is 48 characters, so, like, obviously not all of them are going to, like, get the characterization they deserve. And then it's coming up with, well, how do they kill? And, like, part of me wants to use that, like, baited like, what we thought was originally gonna be how Hanamura killed, like, Terror, how he originally killed, with, like, feeding everybody somebody else. But I can't decide who should die. But I have certain characters that have to I also have certain characters that have to live up to a certain point for, like, plot reasons. And then characters I just don't wanna die super early because I wanna explore the characters. So it's just a bunch of, like, moving parts. I might have to use a wheel to decide. Originally, I was going to use a wheel to decide all the, like, killers and deaths. Then, people I was planning to be the, survivors ended up dying, and I didn't like this. So, yeah. And with certain characters, like, I'm not sure what I could add to the character, like, Terror. He did not get a lot of characterization, but also, what the fuck do you do with him? Love him. I find his character hilarious. I would not know what to do with his character in a way that wouldn't make him more awful. Which is why I'm okay with him still being one of the first killers. But the question is, how does he kill? How does he get around how does he end up killing them? Because, if I go with the, feed people method, feed people method, I have to set up an event to where he's feeding everybody, and to where he can get past Kurumi without her noticing that doesn't look like regular meat. So it's a lot of moving parts with this one. But I also have like plans for like, well, he could do Kurumi. No, everybody would notice if she went missing. So it's just a lot of like, who am I okay killing off early without any character development? Because there are some characters that don't need it because they did so well in the first story, but there are characters I'm attached to where I would like them to live a little bit longer. So that's where I'm at, grand killing game wise. Because there are like, and I'm gonna straight up say it, not all of the people who survived their actual killing games will survive the grand killing game. I plan on killing off a majority of the characters. Like, there are very few that are going to survive, like, maybe a handful. Mhm. And I already know what the final, like, trial, like, murder trial is gonna be. Like, you have that's understandable just as long as the ones I like survive. I can't guarantee that. Not even not even all the ones I like are gonna survive. Like, part of me is selecting ones I like, and some part of me is selecting what is the best story. Like, that is how I'm looking at some of the choices, is what makes sense for the story, and 'cause I'm okay with revealing some of the AU stuff here. I plan 100%. I plan, and I'm gonna seed the hints early that in case people who don't watch this stream and never will watch it, I'm gonna make Kaede Kuzuryu because I believe that in my heart of hearts she is Natsumi's twin. I'm planting the seeds early that she has this weird like to everybody else, she has this weird relationship with Fuyuhiko. She can get away with telling him off. She can get away with teasing him. She and Peko can do things, but Peko's more standoffish, so it's not as noticeable. She can do things that others cannot without getting threatened as much. And other people like notice this, but like say nothing about it. And one of the like, so you know how in SDR 2, the second trial is Peko and Mahiru's. They we find out that's not going to be the second trial, but it is going to be a mid-story trial. Like, there's going to be a lot more trials just because there's a lot more people. 48. 48. This is 48. 16, 28. 42. 42 characters is a lot for just 6 trials, even if all of them were double murders. I'm gonna keep some of like the more like end stuff secret, but like one of the few trials I'm keeping from the games, like Murder Victim, Peko is going to kill Mahiru for Natsumi's death. But initially, everybody A thinks it's Fuyuhiko after they realize who it is. But then they end up with the question that nobody asked: how did Natsumi get into the main course building to begin with? You could do a trial that's a double murder, so Marco splits the meetings for two trials. Oh, I could have two murderers in one. That'd be a fun one. I may use that in Jedi, like having a double murder, double trial. But it would kind of like they would kind of it would kind of like make it to where like, oh, we know the murderer for this victim is in this group, and the murder for that victim, like he would have to like specifically select what people went in what groups ahead of time. That way the murder, like in that case, I would do it to where there were 4 victims, because I think that'd make it very interesting. 4 victims, 2 murderers, and the second murderer thought they would get off scot-free, and maybe they were, like, caught midway through. That would be fun. That's smart, Ninjetta, I'm stealing that idea. 'Cause that adds a whole new dynamic of the other class the other half doesn't realize who's, at fault or their reasoning until they see the execution and they talk to the other group. And so, like, if their friends are in the other group, they're gonna be friends are gonna be crushed. Like, let's say I might not I'm not gonna do this specific one. Let's say it's like the Mondo killing Chihiro trial and and Ishimaru was in the other group. He comes back and sees Mondo get executed, goes and questions them, and finds out why it happened the way it happened. I just so big, but you are. No, that is evil. I love it. This is why I talk to you. I might message you more and you might be my like idea person when my like help me get out of writer block on this AU. That is really clever. But like I was saying, Pecco's trial is going to be one of the ones that stays mostly true to the games, but then they ask I'm glad to help. You're glad to help me make you and other people suffer. And we ask the question that of how did Natsumi get into the main building? And then that's how Kaide gets outed. Like she's like, well, I if this is and that's how they find out around mid game that their memories had been taken from them. Like this is around the time they find out that they had lives. Obviously they had lives, but that they went to school together before all this is they're questioning because like they think after it gets revealed that Kaide's accused Ryu, they think it could be her. I mean, certain people do. Obviously, Suichi's simp ass wouldn't. The smart people would be like, no, Heidi's not that type, we think. She's 85% down with murder. And then they're just like, okay, so it's neither of the Kuzryu siblings. Who else could it be? And they're just staying there and they don't know. And like, one thing that helps trigger it is Peko and Kaide the entire time have been close. And when people start asking about, oh, you seem to have known Peko before this entire time, well, Kuzryu keeps his different from Peko, and Peko keeps her different because Kaide's going under a different last name. there's no issue with Peko and Kaide being close. So they write it off as a half truth, like, oh, Peko's a childhood friend. We've known each other since we were little. I've I've known her my whole life. She's been there since before I was born. Stuff like that. That's when the connection between the Kuryus and Peko comes out because, oh, Heidi isn't a killer, and Kuryu doesn't know how he got out of the bathhouse or wherever this murder's gonna take place or however it goes. And they just look at Peko and they're just like, so you're Kaide's like childhood friend. How are you related to the Kuryus? And it's just like, and Kaide kind of has known since about the beginning it was Peko. Like, as soon as she saw Mahir was dead, and she, like, played the game with, like, Hajime and Kado and then, because I have the pro tags basically being their own little mini subgroup. Like, they end up hanging out a lot, and just because it makes writing things easier. They do split off into their own little mini friend groups. Kay starts a PowerPoint presentation about her relationship with Slide 1, my birth. It's just to draw my life. That would be because, like, that has so many connections. Then you find out, like, 3 of them knew each other before this. Well, technically, I think Sakura and Peko, like, it's implied through their uniforms that they went to in their, like, what schools they were supposed to go to, that they went to the same school. And I changed Peko's uniform to where Peko, Tenko, and Sakura all went to the same girls' school. So Tenko has the same uniform as them. So those 3 knew each other and are basically like they're martial arts besties. And so Peko actually knows the most people out of the group actually. Like, even if she didn't know Sakura and Tenko well, she still is just like, "Hey, I think I saw you guys around school." And they're like, "Oh yeah, we remember you." And Tenko, being the lesbian she is just like, "Yes, you're amazing, slay queen." And I guess she takes it a little too literally. Just guided with the PowerPoint present. No, Monokuma has the PowerPoint presentation that he just brings up mid-trail, like, yes, we're gonna start with Koyama's, Kamatsu's, and Kuryu's are related. Once upon a time, there was a famous pianist at a jazz club named insert mom name here. Akamatsu. The jazz bar she played at was very popular with gangsters and was run by a gangster himself. The poor woman did not know this, but after a few performances, she was sold off to the Kuryos to pay off the owner's debts. And there was nothing she could do if she had been adopted or some shit like that. Then they had their darling, bouncing baby, adorable boy. Look at that face. And they had conveniently found a baby. Look at their little faces. They're all grown up now. Tell me, when did puberty hit and you realized you were both? And then he gets like a sword thrown at him. It only counts as violence against the headmaster if she was aiming for him. That was a warning. And after the gang leader's brother died, they decided they needed a backup heir. And so They were pregnant once more, but this time, surprise! Twins! First was the lovely young Kaede, who, as they would later learn in life, was not fit for this family at all. And then was Natsumi, who was a bitch. Pulls no punch, and even Kaede and Fuyuhiko can't argue against the fact that Natsumi is a bitch. They grew up with her, they know. And then goes, how about the grow up? And then when Kaide's talent started showing through, she didn't want to be associated with the Kuzrus because she didn't want judges just to have her win because they were afraid of her family. Now she started going by a new last name and eventually got it legally changed. Blah 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 blah. Clef Cannon, the Grand Cannon, if she's is Clef Cannon the Grand Cannon, and is if she is Clef a bunny or the youngest sister? Unfortunately, I don't think Clef would be canon, but if she was, there she would have to be the younger sister and currently in the Care Future Foundation, because there's no way Clef the Rabbit would let this shit happen. She would have stopped the murders and mauled Monokuma on sight. There's no way Clef would have let that happen. And unfortunately, even if Clef the Rabbit was canon, she would be passed away by now. So unfortunately, Clef is not canon, as funny as it would be. We can make AUs where she is, but in the larger Grand Killing Game AU canon, she is not, unfortunately. She is just a meme. Though I'm not afraid of making references to Clef. Like every time Kaede references like, oh, I love bunnies, everybody else feels like shivers run down their spines. Clef, the younger sister, would still try to bite. Yes, of course. Uh, it's not Clef if she's not biting them. That would be some other character, but it would not be Clef. And there'd definitely be strife after like the trial after like Peku's gone and Celeste and Kokichi would probably be on the "Wow, Kaede, you lied to us" train, and everybody else would be like, "Can you fuck off for 5 minutes?" I mean, they'd probably like start being like, you get people like Tenko who are all up in Fujiki's was like, I can't believe you made a girl kill for you, us another girl at that, fuck you and everything you stand for. And I feel like because Kaede has a like strong sense of justice, which is why she did not work well in her family. She would go off on Tenko, like, we didn't ask for this. We didn't ask to be born into this family. You need to like shut up and stay in your lane. And she would just go off on like Tenko, and everybody would be like, whoa, we need to calm her down. But she definitely would not stand up for like people blaming Fuyuhiko for Pekko's death. Especially at the end, it was Pekko's choice to kill, and she'd be like, you're taking away the agency Pekko had as a person by blaming Fuyuhiko for her death. Because that's saying like she did not have the choice herself and she was a tool. Because it'd be dishonoring her brother and dishonoring the friend she had grown to love like a sister. Then you'd get the, so Kuzryu, huh? And she'd be like, yeah. So that's one of the, like, because of all the, like, way I can explore characters with all of them being there in, like, my head canons. That's one of, like, the few, like, murders I'm reusing. And, like, when they're figuring out, that Kaide that there is a, like, second Kuzryu sibling that could have let Natsumi in to the main course, people start bringing up how Fuyuhiko would talk about his, like, sister, but there were inconsistencies to where there it had to be two. And there was, like, stuff in Kaide's medical file about twin. Like, I'm not sure if that's actually how, like, medical files work. But, like, or in Old Hope's Peak, files that are on the island for plot relevant reasons. It says, like, so far no talent has been observed in her twin in Kaide's file. And, like, that's when people are just like, "Wait, you have a sister? You have a twin?" And Kaide has to be like, "Yeah, love her to death, but I don't really talk about her." "Oh, why?" "She's a cunt." So, like, the grand killing game, like, again, some character design dynamics I'm not afraid to, like, talk talk about because they'll be shown pretty early on in, like, some, like, murders because, like, they're not really, like, they're, like, important to the plot because it's a murder killing game, but they're not important to the plot because it's a processing. Sorry, I say processing when I'm thinking, that way people know I'm, like, not done with the thought, I just need extra moments for it to buffer in my head. And now I've completely forgot what I was talking about. Oh, their plot some of the stuff is plot relevant, but, like, happens early enough on or, like, it does not affect the end story, which I wanna, like, keep vague and secret until we get there. Like, it's still worth something, but it does not spoil anything that's going to be super different about the grand killing game. So, like, early on, you'll see that Hiyoko does not gravitate towards Mahiro. Mahiro? Why do I keep mixing up the O's and U's today? Mahiro. At all. She gravitates towards Maki, who is much more used to dealing with shitlins. Does Maki enjoy this? No. But she's kind of accepted her role as basically Hiyoko's babysitter to make sure she doesn't wreck anybody's life. So, Mahiro's death isn't gonna hit her as hard. Because that's not like it will, but not in the way it does, like, "Oh, my hero took care of me." It's going to hit in a, "I'm a massive lesbian and I really liked her" way. Looking at the joints on my hand to know where the ball joints would be on hers. Fun fact, this actually used to be how I would build characters, and originally that's why I started doing like doll-like designs, is so I didn't have to erase the like ball joints I used to like figure out where everything would lay. But yeah, certain like deaths will like affect characters differently because there's such more of a wide range of like characters to hang around. They make different friends that they might not have, or they don't leave their comfort zone as much because you don't have to. Like, I don't think Angie will get as big of a like cult because there are other people for these characters that are emotionally not doing well to lean on that fit their that can like understand and help them work through those feelings better. Like Gonta, he's out of her reach because he's already in a group with Celeste, and Celeste is just like, no, I'm the only one who can manipulate Tarzan. Kokichi's plans with Gonto would not work in the Grand Killing Game AU because he's already been claimed by another manipulator. So Kokichi's plans are gonna have to adapt to people he can convince. I'm not gonna name names, but I will name talents. Or rather memes. Hope Boner. But yeah. Also, Togami's straight up not gonna be as much of a problem because we have worse fish. We have worse rivals to deal with. We have fucking Kokicha and Komeda together to deal with. Togami being an asshole is the worst of our is the least of our problems. Togami simply stuck with the leg man role. The fuck does that mean? Is this some like stereotype or like comedy thing I don't get? What does leg man mean? I mean, he's still a prick. He's a prick who's more done with everybody's shit because Kaito's in the group. Kami has long man. Yeah. He's just there to look pretty and be an asshole. I've debated letting Sho kill him. I mean, I'm not gonna, because it wouldn't be interesting, but I debated it heavily. Because he did not deserve to live. And I think he is responsible for Sakura's death for the most part. Because if he didn't give a shit, then Toko wouldn't have given a shit. But, because I already have to deal with the combined efforts of Kokichi and Kameda, I was just like, I don't have a use for you currently. You can just look pretty and be an asshole in the corner. And we'll call it a day. I may come up with a really good, like, plot thing for Tagami. And, like, I do need him to live for a certain amount of time because I have plans. And, I need him for those plans. But after that, he is fair game. Also am going to, like, try to, tastefully touch upon Chihiro wearing a dress. And how that's going to be touched upon is, okay, Chihiro sees that, so we Shui Shuichi Kaito. Maki got dragged into it. And Kaide's just kind of like, oh, is this what we're doing now? They're doing their nightly training. Chihiro sees this, asks to join, and they're like, sure! And Taka and Mondo see this, and they're like, we'd love to help train. And then, I'm making Shuichi trans in the AU. I just think it adds an interesting, like, character point for him. Also, look at that man. And so, I imagine, because if the games had gone on for any longer, at least statistically, one of the girls was going to get their period. And if, given how long they'd been around each other, periods sync up. So I imagine that, like, after one synced up, it would, like, be one thing after another when that time of month came around. So I imagine during one of these training things, Luishi's period starts. And he's a bit awkward and just like, hey, I need to go to the restroom. And we're just like, why? And he's just like, so I'm trans. And I was just like, how? You just, like, don't know how to answer that phrased like that. Eventually, he explains that he's transitioning into a guy, and I was just like, cool. I'm pretty chill about it because it's how it should be. And so then Shihir's just like, I mean, didn't you feel, like, self-conscious talk about it? And he goes, yeah, but this group's pretty okay, and, like, I know I can trust you guys. And so that group probably finds out that Chihiro's a, boy faster than everybody else. And they let Chihiro tell everybody when they're ready. They're the first to know because Soichi kind of got the vibes that Chihiro wasn't all they seemed to be, so to speak. And so he drops the, I mean, you must understand, you're transitioning too. And she has to drop the, no, I'm cis, I just like girl clothes. And Soichi's just like, word, cool. Dresses are nice. I get more gender euphoria from pants, but you do you. And she was like, oh wow. That is the most positive, most chill way I've ever had somebody react. Friendship unlocked. What else can I talk about? This is the other thing of why I'm gonna have to end the stream while after I finish these two is I have run out of topic. I'm running out slowly but surely running out of topics to talk about. Altered Spare Girls Aftermath has changed quite a bit from when I first started it. Because for those of you who don't know, it just started as a series of silly asks. I do you think they should make another Danganronpa game? Okay, here are my feelings on that. I would enjoy another Danganronpa game, but the team would have to be passionate. I don't think they should make one just to make one. I think they have to make one because they want to make one. And if they do make one, it would have to take place before V3. Whether or not, and like, I'm assuming you mean a proper Danganronpa game, like a killing game. Uh, it would either have to take place in V3, and if V3 was telling the truth about it just being a season of Danganronpa, it would have to take place past season. Like, maybe they could do Rantaro's killing game. Otherwise, I would love if they did what I'm doing currently and just used a bunch of the beta designs that they haven't before and created like a beta class off of it. I would like them to take some topics more seriously, like I'd like the fat character not to be the joke character. Or and they would have to like stop with the incest jokes straight up. I get so if there's one thing that rubs me wrong in Danganronpa, it's the incest jokes every other game. 3 out of 4 games have them. I'm not counting the anime. 3 out of 4 games have them, and it's not funny, and it gets less funny every time. 3 or 4 games have them, but they made up for not having it in one game because they had it twice in another, so I would enjoy it, but they A would have to be passionate about it, and B, I wouldn't want them to, I'd want them to take a look at their past games, see what worked, see what didn't work, leave out the stuff that didn't work, stop making incest jokes, and just have fun with it. I liked that V3 tried to go against some of the norms they've established in the games. And I would love for, if they make another game, for it to go further against the norms. Like, maybe the beefy character lives. That'd be a fucking shot. I think it worked for me in V3 since the context of a T-shirt has been going on for so long. You naturally are going to go through software type of keeping surviving the audience. Yeah. One second, it's taking a word for the whole word. It's taking a minute for these words to process. Another way they could make it work if they decide to go with the Hope's Peak timeline is, now, I'm not one to say Junko should come back. She can stay dead, please. But this is a huge but. Follower, or like, she was, how do I put this? I wouldn't be surprised if she had had a kid out there after everything was said and done, like at least one kid. Muscle character not dying. Chapter 4. Yeah. And I could see them doing one where Junko's kid, or a follower of Junko who has been managed to keep under wraps, hide from Future Foundation all this time, under the watchful guise of the government, snuck into Makoto's New Hope's Peak and tried to recreate the killing game, especially if they tried to recreate the very first killing game to honor Junko's legacy. I think that's an interesting way to do it. Like, have them try to heavily manipulate, but everything goes wrong at every turn. And in that case, it would probably have to be a set of, it'd probably have to be a set of followers that were trying to redo the killing game, because they'd have to have one play the part of Junko and one play that. Speaking of Junko, do you think Junko has light hair or strawberry blonde hair? I think it's meant to be strawberry blonde. I think the intent was for it to be a stylized strawberry blonde, honestly. And when I write it as it's strawberry blonde. Like, that's how I would describe it, because it's meant to be bleached. And she's meant to have, like, her red hair is supposed to be representative of, like, ginger hair. It's just very stylized, because we refer to people with ginger hair as redheads, because back when words were being developed, they did not have the color for orange. So, like, they didn't have the color. They didn't have the word for the color orange. So they would describe it as a yellowy red, which is why people with ginger hair, even though to us now we recognize it as the color orange, are called redheads. So in art, you'll see that ginger hair, unless it's strawberry blonde, is usually drawn as, like, actually red because of this. I think Junko's, like, natural hair, which, if the Ryoko sprites are anything to go off of, she naturally has red hair, red eyes. I think she bleaches her hair to be as blonde as possible, which means ends up a strawberry blonde, and she wears blue contacts. Just because that's how girls with that style of hair, the style she's meant to emulate, bleach their hair to be blonde. So I think it's meant to be a strawberry blonde. I can see how people would think it's pink, though. I'm team pink. Yeah, I think that's valid. It is very, like, either way is valid, because this is also a series with people with blue hair, and you'd think that'd be black, but then again, you have characters with actually black hair, so it's hard to tell where they draw the line. I think for the most part, the original Trigger Happy Havoc was meant to be, they were meant to be, like, for like a is meant to be as normal as possible. Like, everybody's was meant to have, like, if they had a weird hair color, it was meant to be dyed hair. And then in Super Danganronpa 2, they realized they did not give a shit and they could do what they want. I mean, Soda's hair is still meant to be dyed, but Chiaki's is solidly pink. And, like, maybe it was meant to be a light brown, but, like... And then they have eye colors that wouldn't exist, so... I think either way is valid. You could be like, "I think it's pink," and I'd be like, "Yeah, I can see that," and you could say, "I think it's strawberry blonde," and I'd be like, "Yeah, I can see that." So, I'm team it's strawberry blonde, but ultimately I could give two shits less. It's not a make it or break it thing for me if, like, I'm reading a fic and the author goes like, "And her pink hair, her strawberry blonde hair." So, yeah, you'll find a lot of things I don't have super strong opinions. Especially, like, if it's just my headcanon and people are just like, "I don't know how you could see that." And I'm like, "That's fair. Most of it's a Jenga tower of headcanon, so valid." And, like, coloring from, like, beta designs can be inconsistent too because, like, in some of Kaide's beta designs, she had brown eyes, not purple. So, welcome to Shrug City. Both are acceptable answer. Like, if you were to ask me and I was running a game show and it was a question, I would accept both as the correct answer. It's hard for sure to tell 100% what the intent of the creator was. Like, whether or not it was supposed to be strawberry blonde or pink. Ah! Welcome to How Would I Kill These Characters? Imagine these two again. Often they would be most likely for a double murder. Because they're always around each other. And it'd be a matter of like, now if one caught you, you'd have to like kill her quick, but like someone dies from drinking the forbidden brain juice. I'm not even sure what the brain juice is. And I've drawn it. I just made it this generic yellow liquid because I thought that looked very sci-fi. Honestly, I think it's probably you shouldn't drink saline straight, but it's probably just some generic saline goop to keep it from rotting. And maybe like it has electricity running through it to keep it alive. So, is saline toxic? Welcome to Hess Google's Weird Questions. Saline solution safe to drink. As long as the character doesn't have a high blood pressure, it can replenish sodium, so I think it'd be more of a, I don't think drinking the brain juice would, do anything. I mean, it could potentially give you it could potentially give you a disease known as Kuru because, the, like, brain bacteria gets in it, and that's what can cause Kuru, and it makes you go insane and die of laughter. But I think that'd be considered like, if you did it, it wouldn't be considered Hanako's fault, it'd be considered the, drinker's fault because, I'm pretty sure that straight up eye goes around whenever somebody has the gremlin thought of and stares at it too long, she feels like the saline is probably 100% safe to drink. The fact that there's brain matter in there probably makes it unsafe to drink, so I would not recommend it. So, yes, somebody would die from drinking the forbidden brain juice. It probably does not taste like lemonade or limeade no matter how it looks. But, I don't think Hanako could be held accountable for the murder unless she force-fed you it, but I don't think she would do that seeing as that's how she stays alive with a question mark. Because 'Cause I'm still not sure if she can be considered truly alive. Uh, yeah. Ironically, killing these 2 would probably because I've thought about it. How would you kill these 2? Would be functionally very similar because you would just have to disrupt the connection to Hanako's brain, and for you'd want to cut her charging cord, and she'd be unable to charge. It'd be like starving her, which is fucked. It it probably is if it's soaked in brain. Yeah, it's very unsafe to drink. Technically, the brain's soaked in it. It's just been marinating ever since she was brought back to life. Which means, like, even though biologically and mentally she's the same age as the other students, she's probably, like, depending on how recently she was brought back to life, her birthday could make her, like, much older than the other students. Like, it could be the thing where, like, technically Shadow is the same age as the rest of the Sonic characters, but he was made 50 years ago and put into stasis. So, like, people are like, "He's 50," and we're like, "Barely." Could we get a no me memory doodle before the end of stream? Yes, we can. I will How did she die? That's a mystery for the Fangan. I mean, the stitches imply dismemberment. And she was a Jane Doe who could not be identified. So the stitches and the fact that she's technically a Jane Doe imply she was dismembered by a serial killer. We want to go off and say if this is goes along with my V3 is in the Hope's Peak timeline. Do we want to say she was actually a victim of Kyo? Like, I did not put thought into how she died. I just drew her to be pretty. She just died normally and her stitches are just for aesthetic. The stitches are actually tattoos because she was like an emo girl when she was alive, but she does not remember that part of herself. I mean, then there also, like, is the mystery of who brought her back to life. Does she know who brought her back to life? Like, I put very little thought into these characters, like, stories when I initially made them, because initially they were just made to just for fun as a thought exercise. What would these betas look if I could do them if I made them as close to the Danganronpa style as possible? So, like, her existence brings up a whole slew of, questions. How did she get why did she get brought back? How did she get brought back? Who was she before she was zombie? And again, her name technically isn't Hanako. It's just that's what they call Jane Does in Japan. To the point where, like, if this were to be an actual game and localized, they would call her Jane Doe. Magic. Magic! Knowing Danganronpa fucking could be. So, I mean, and there is some, like, science put into the thought of her the, like, brain jar thing for keep it preserved. Uh, actually think based off of, like, the sketches, because when I was thinking about the characters, I did use, like, the little sketches, and she had a bunch of, like, ones about, like, that showed, like, her emotions and stuff. Uh, her hand falling off, I think, was one of them. So I don't think the stitches are there for, aesthetics. I do think, a running joke with her would be her not only losing her brain, but losing her other body parts. She's just limping around there like, "Where's your other foot?" And she's just like, "I don't know." "Well, where did you have it last?" "I don't remember." She's very, she's a space cadet. Her head's in the clouds despite it being in her arms. She just very much loses track of everything. It's played for comedy, and she's a bit of a ditzy character, I imagine. And so, like, I think it'd be funny if she was constantly losing her body parts. And, like, they'll be like, "Where's your hand?" "Eyes holding it." And Ai's name is just AI because AI. That's the joke. And I could see Hanako's name if this was a real game getting like localized as Jane Doe. Yeah, these two characters I've thought the most